But they take them out of the trucks, they take their weapons away, they burn the cars down, and in their anger they just like smash them. They kick these guys out, and they go to the police station, they grab the police guns, you know, state and local police, and they kick them out of the town. And that message was, don't be afraid to take the boot out of your neck.
From Acapulco, Mexico, this is Anarchast.
Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Anarchast, your home for anarchy on the internet. I'm with Roy Duarte, who actually was the person who really hooked us up with the people in Cheran, the 30,000 people town in Michoacan, Mexico that have been government free for 7 years now. No police, no government, and one of the nicest little towns I've ever been to. So we're going to talk about that and our experiences there. And you've actually gone back since then because you live in Morelia, which is one of the nicest little towns I've ever been. It's a city. It's the capital city of Michoacan, but it's fairly small, but it's super nice. If you get the chance to go, definitely check it out. It's only a few hours drive from Mexico City. We had a great time there with Roy, and as I said, you've been back to Cheran since. You've got some information about what happened then. There's a lot of confusion as well about what it's all about. When I first posted about Cheran, a lot of people said, "Oh, this isn't real anarchy, they don't allow private property," and you found out that's not the case. So it sounds like it's really in line with a lot of the things that my dogs have just snuck into the patio. Here comes Lucy. She'll hop right up on you. That's what she does. And so we're going to talk all about that. But Roy, before we get started, how did you become an anarchist?
Well, man, I'm not sure, you know, because sometimes I feel like I've always been an anarchist, you know, I've just been realizing it slowly. But something that definitely, you know, went through my head was that when I was in university in Mexico City, it was a Marxist university, you know, yeah. And I mean, like the teachers over there, well, they were very authoritarian. And when you questioned their ideas, they were like, stop thinking and acting like a capitalist oppressor. And I'm like, no, man, I'm just questioning things that don't make sense for me, you know? And if the people who support those ideas of state authoritarianism act like that when they get, you know, questioned, I was like, Jesus, I'm not sure I want to go down this path, you know? So slowly I was, you know, researching on more ideas and theories about liberty, the Austrian School of Economics as well. And I was like, well, I mean, like the freest societies are the ones that prosper the most. So I studied economics to help people, and the best thing to help them is just, you know, take the chains away from them, you know? So I would say that was when I became an anarchist.
That's great. And yeah, I hear that it's pretty, like the major universities in Mexico, there's a lot of Marxism, is that right?
Oh, yes. I mean, like, especially if they're state funded.
Right.
Yeah. But also, I mean, like, it's because the political paradigm here in Mexico, it's pretty weird, you know? You go to the private universities, and they're super authoritarians as well, but they're the ones who want to stay in power, you know? There's the case of this school, ITAM, in which, yeah, they're kind of like semi-liberal right-wing, you know? But they want to have power, you know? And a lot of them have connections with the main party, PRI. Well, it lost in the past elections. But they're always talking about, you know, how they can fund everything, and they just want control of everything. So right. They're not liberals at all.
Yeah. What would you say about Mexico as a whole, though? Because I don't see in my day-to-day life everyone acting all Marxist or communist. So it's this kind of a weird thing. They're really trying to push it on the people. And there's this weird thing about Latin America with this. There's definitely always a bit of Marxism and communism somehow always involved. In fact, most people who call themselves anarchists in Latin America are usually just communists. What would you say to all that?
Well, yeah, there are a lot of communist people, you know, in here that also call themselves anarchists. For example, in my university, there was a small, like, anarchist place, you know, but they were anarcho-communists. And they seized, they took like possession of a theater in there, and they've been living there for like 19 years, but literally living in there. You know, they even have plants and shit. But I mean, like, when it comes to Mexico in general, I think
Well, it's kind of funny, just briefly, like, so typical of communists, right? Like, this theater got built somehow, usually by some sort of, some capital was involved, right? You can't build
money.
a theater, you can't build it without capital, so the capital gets stolen by the government creates this theater, and then the anarcho-communists take over the theater that was essentially built through capital originally, and have just been living there and not building anything of their own, right?
Yeah, man, but there's something funny, man. They hate capitalism, but they have their own market inside of the place. You can buy books, you can buy food. Yeah.
They'd starve to death if they didn't, right?
Yeah.
Unless they all grew their own food and spent all day growing their own food in the theater, which...
Oh, no, they buy it at Walmart and they sell it. Yeah.
Yeah, but what would you say about Mexicans in general? Because, like, I don't run into those sort of people hardly ever, but I know they exist. Like, is it a big thing, or is it just sort of small, or is it hidden?
Well, Jesus, it's hard to know, you know, because, I mean, like, the average Mexican they're just minding their own business, you know?
Which is anarchists, basically.
Yeah. I mean, like, I would say they're semi-anarchist, except when election times comes, you know, because everyone's just looking for their own benefit.
Yeah.
You know, but normally, they don't talk a lot about politics or like
which I
theories.
love. Yeah, like I've been here for 10 years. I've never been in a bar, and I've been in a lot of bars. And someone said, "Hey, what do you think about the next election?" It never comes up, and I get the sense, even if I brought it up, they'd be like, "What are you talking? Who cares?" You know?
Yeah. That's a common response, you know, when you talk about politics. It's, hey, you know, the governor did this or the president, and they're like, whatever. So I was telling you, things like that.
That's why I've actually loved spending a lot of time in Mexico, because that's how the people in general are. But there is definitely, I guess, the people in some of the universities. Is it all the universities, or just the major ones funded by the state?
There are, of course.
I actually did a speech here at, sorry to cut you off, a speech at a University of Americas here in Acapulco about 5 years ago on Bitcoin, and you know, it's fairly well received. There didn't seem to be a lot of Marxists or anything there, so it's not everywhere.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, if you go to a private university, you won't have an issue, but there was a libertarian girl that wanted to give a speech at the government university in Michoacán, in Morelia, and the anarcho-communists, they broke into the theater and they were bringing these speakers and they were like protesting, you know. And she was like,
that's how you debate when you're on the wrong side of the debate, right? Don't let anyone talk. And this is what's going on in the U.S. and all over the place with Antifa and all this, is people are just like, hey, can we talk about free speech? They're like, no, hit them, shut them up, which is pretty fascist.
It is fascist, man. I mean, like, and it's pretty funny because the ones for freedom are fascists, according to them, you know, which is like, what?
All this stuff is because they've been doing this for decades now in the U.S. and other places, and they have a lot of socialism. They don't call it communism as much there. They call it socialism, which is basically the same thing. And I know a lot of people argue that, but that's, you know, even Karl Marx said socialism is just a stepping stone towards communism. It's just the way to get towards communism. And a lot of people will just you know, they've been trained in this sort of like a test tube, sort of like a laboratory rats, and they don't know anything outside of it, and they've been taught all this stuff, and all this stuff is very wrong and confusing, and that's actually what they want. That's the entire goal, is to make sure everyone's confused and doesn't know what the real problem is. And we know what the real problem is. The real problem, as we found out in Cheran, Mexico, is the government and police and all their arbitrary laws and all the things that they do. So let's talk about Cheran. Are you from Morelia originally?
Yes, I'm from Morelia originally.
So you have grown up in this area. When did you first find out about Cheran?
Well, I knew about Cheran quite a few years ago. I mean, like, with my father, in my family in general, we usually did like these Sunday trips with the family, going out of Morelia, you know, to these little towns. Cheran was one of them, but then, you know, the government was making these big deals with organized crime. Well, same thing, actually. Yeah.
In Mexico, it really is almost the same thing.
Oh, for sure, yes.
Like people say the cartel, the government, it's basically the same thing.
It is the same thing, man. So yeah, but what happened in Cheran was that, you know, the news was that it was very dangerous because there was a lot of crime and the police were like big idiots to the people, you know. So it was like a super dangerous zone, you know. But after the uprising, people were still afraid. Even in the Mexican news, international news, I'm not sure. But in the Mexican news was like, don't go to Cheran, you could get killed in there.
It's the same as in the U.S. They do the same here in Mexico. I travel a lot in Mexico, and I'll be in Cancun or Cabo or even Mexico City sometimes, and I'll say I live in Acapulco. They'll be like, "Oh, I hear it's really dangerous." It's like, turn off the television programming. Like, yes, there's problems caused by the war on drugs and the government, but as your average person, you just don't see that stuff day to day.
Yeah, man. I mean, like, Morelia specifically was a city known, for active organized crime, but I've never been or never seen a shootout or anything. I mean, like, I guess I've seen the guys, I'm not sure. But, I mean, like, anyone with money could buy one of those big trucks, But,
we drove through in one of those big trucks, so it could have been us.
Oh, yeah. Dude, I told my friends. So we were in a black Suburban, new one with license plates from Guerrero. And they were like, "Oh, my God, you're crazy. How are you not dead?" And I'm like, well, we just went there and that's it. Nothing happened.
Yeah, in fact, it was super nice. But before we get into how nice it is, you know a bit of the history of the area. And this goes all the way back to the Aztecs. And they fought off the Aztecs, they fought off the Spanish, they fought off the Mexicans.
Oh, yeah.
Like, tell us a little bit about their history of real heroism of fighting off authority.
Yeah, well, they're very well known. I mean, like, the Purépecha people, as how they call themselves, they're very well known for, being warriors. But they're not the ones who bring war to other places, They just want to do, they just want to mind their own business, They were the first guys, the first humans to settle down in those parts of Mexico. But then several empires tried to attack them. The first ones were the Aztecs, they were dominating and just destroying everything and rebuilding it in their own way. But these guys, they never got conquered by the Aztecs, and there's even a story that when Hernán Cortés was fighting the Aztecs in Mexico, in what's now Mexico City, the emperor at the time was a guy called Cuauhtémoc, and he sent 2 emissaries to the Purépecha people to ask them for help against the Spanish. So at the very moment the two Aztec emissaries arrived, they got sacrificed.
Wow.
Nobody liked the Aztecs, man. They were very, very, very authoritarian, imperialist. Yeah.
Wow.
And
yeah,
then,
they're hardcore there. And so then after that, of course, I guess, did the Spanish try to do anything there as well? Or more the Aztecs at the time?
Well, after the Aztecs were defeated, of course the Spanish wanted to conquer it, and they had technological advantage and everything, But something pretty interesting happened. I mean, they were the only people who were not conquered by war. I mean, not even conquered at all, Because they made a deal. They were like, okay, so if you come here and you do it in a bad way, we could lose, but you're gonna pay a price, a big price, So in the end, they made a deal. They gave some land to the Purépecha people, and they were like, yeah, you can still, do business. You just gotta pay the crown tax. Yeah.
That's government. Mm-hmm. And so they kind of fought them off to some extent, and they kind of kept them out. They had to pay a little bit of extortion fees. And then the Mexican government started really causing problems there.
Oh, yeah, man. Yeah, man. I mean, the mayor at the moment, before the uprising, they call him a traitor. So they banned him from the town. I believe he passed away 3 weeks ago, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, good. And so then about 7 years ago, tell us a little bit about what exactly happened. I've heard all these stories about there was an uprising. What exactly happened at that time?
So, oh man, some tough stuff was happening. The authorities at the moment, they were letting the organized crime inside of Cheran so they could cut down all the trees and make business out of that, and the authorities were getting a cut from that business.
Of course.
So the people told us that you could see on the roads these big trucks coming, with a lot of logs, and they were asking them why are you doing this to our home? We haven't done anything to you. And these guys, they replied, this is the beginning. Then after that, we're gonna take your wives, your daughters, and then that's when actually the ones who started the uprising were some women, So it happened on April 15th, 2011. So it was 6 a.m. You know, the bells from the church were ringing, you know, and there were some firecrackers. So what happened after that, the organized crime trucks were going down the road with logs. So what's happening? These ladies go attack those trucks. I mean, like, these trucks were with guys, you know, with automatic weapons and everything, and the only thing the ladies had were sticks, machetes, a couple of 22s, I think like 3 of them. And but they take them out of the trucks, they take their weapons away, they burn the cars down, and in their anger they just like smash them. They kick these guys out, and they go to the police station, they grab the police guns, you know, state and local police, and they kick them out of the town.
Awesome. These are my kind of women.
Oh man, yeah, they're so small, man.
I know,
yeah.
Everyone there's really tiny, but so tough.
Yeah, they're super tough, man. They do have a pair.
Yeah, you know, that's really, like, a lot of people say, well, how is that different than communists who go and burn down other stuff? This is where it gets a little hazy and crazy and gray a little bit, but this is an area where these people have lived as pretty much a compact sort of society for millennia, and these people are coming in and just saying, we're taking this stuff now. So I can totally see, as an anarchist, you have the right to say, there's a general understanding in that area that this is our place. We all live here. We have a general way that we do life. These people come in and just start trashing the place. You totally, I think, have the right as an anarchist to fight back. Yeah, and that rarely happens anywhere now, and that's really kind of the problem. And I'm not calling for violence. I don't think violence is the answer, but sadly, everyone's already rolled over all across the world. Everyone's just rolled over. I give half my money to the government. Where's all the women, you know, beating these politicians up and stuff? No, the women are, you know, whatever. And the guys are even more feminine than the women in a lot of places now, on purpose. So in a lot of ways, this has already been lost in a lot of ways in that respect. What do you have to say to that? Like that, the way I see it is, a thing that happened in Cheran, that'd be really difficult to happen in a lot of other places now, because they're so whipped, they're so they're so submissive, they're so used to being slaves, that I don't think, like, for example, let's say Chicago people go, let's take back over the town. That's going to get pretty weird and messy, and I don't think the people are really even going to do it.
Yeah, well, I mean,
maybe they will. There is a bit of people are getting very unhappy with a lot of situations across the world.
Yeah, man. I mean, like, there are things you want to do. It's, for example, you know, the kids that, you know, I listened to this case. I'm not sure if it's true, but it wouldn't surprise me. A kid in the U.S. that wanted to sell lemonade on a park.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
What the hell,
no,
man?
this happens every minute of every day in the U.S.
It's crazy.
They're complete slaves in the U.S.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people, like, maybe you can give your opinion on this. I know a lot of people here, and none of them want to move to the U.S. This is Mexico, right? And if you watch the Mexican news, or U.S. news, we gotta build a wall because they all want in. It's like, I don't, like, my wife actually refuses to go to the U.S. Number one, because they want her to ask for permission in the form of a visa, and she says she'll never ask a government for permission, and that's why I married her. And secondly, it's just not what you're told on the television. Like, a lot of people, like, do you want to go live in the U.S. as one example?
No.
Right.
No, man, I don't. Dude, I feel super free in Mexico. I feel super free in Morelia. I mean, like, and I was thinking about it, you know, on last Sunday, you know, I was just walking down the street, like, at 1 a.m. I was at a girl's house, so I was going on the way to my house. And I saw a bar opened, I grabbed a beer, and I was taking the beer with me on the street, and there were some cops passing by, and I was like, hey, bye. And I was like, damn, man, I feel super free in Mexico.
Yeah, you do that in the U.S. I did that in the U.S., and I'll try to put the picture up of me in handcuffs. It was in Phoenix, Arizona. I walked just outside of a bar. I got a call on my phone.
Just outside of the bar?
Yeah, just a little bit outside the bar. And I'm like, I forgot I was in the U.S. because I'd been in Mexico for a long time. I just flew up for a conference, and a phone rings. I go just outside to answer. I'm like, hello. All of a sudden, root, root, 3 squad cars threw me up against the wall. Oh yeah, this is very normal. So this whole idea.
3 cars?
Yeah.
Man, you can see government inefficiency in there. Just
yeah.
All that for just a guy with a drink?
Yeah.
Jesus, man.
Yeah, imagine how much cost that is. All these guys make about $100,000 a year. So there was about 6 of them, $600,000 a year. The cars were all brand new cars. You know, like, the amount of expense just to go around and extort and kidnap people.
Oh, Jesus, man.
But yeah, this whole idea that all the Mexicans, there's some Mexicans who do want to go to the U.S. and they're generally, in my opinion, really, really poor ones who live in a really poor area, usually quite sort of like there's not much capital, not much development going on, and they watch the Hollywood movies and all that, and they hear from their friends, hey, you can make $10 an hour washing a car up in the U.S., and yeah, they want to go there, but your average person really doesn't.
Yeah, no, the average Mexican doesn't want to go there, you know, but I understand the people who's like from, you know, more like small towns and everything, because they subsist out of agriculture, and there was a problem that government created in the 90s, yes.
Always is.
These guys, you know. But they were subsidizing big companies to invest into Mexico's field, you know. Yeah. So it happened to the competition. They got crushed, man, big time. So, yeah, and all the money went to these big companies, subsidized, sponsored by government.
Yeah, same old story. All right, let's get into Cheran a bit more. So I don't think you finished the full story about what exactly happened. So these women like, that's amazing. I only know one woman like that. That's my wife. That's why I married her. I don't know many women who would do. I don't know many men who would do that. So that's amazing that they did it. And then what was the process after that?
So after they kicked everyone out, they were like,
kicked everyone out.
Yeah, that's
heavily armed guys that kicked out.
Yeah,
this
man.
is amazing.
Yeah, man.
These are heroes.
Dude, they were people.
They should be on the money. They just put out do you see the new 500 peso bill? There's a new one.
Oh, yeah.
Like, these should be people from Cheran on there.
Absolutely.
Actually get rid of the peso, but if you're going to have it, if you're going to put a picture on there, put these people.
Yeah.
I would. That'd be my money.
They deserve it, man,
totally.
more than the guy who's actually in there.
Yeah, I don't know who's on there. I didn't even look.
Oh, just
they got whales on the back or something. I don't know.
But yeah, man. So after they were fighting these guys, you know, that had big guns, and they only had, like I told you, 322s and machetes and sticks, literally, and just like that with their fists as well. They were fighting these guys, you know, like we're not gonna let them, you know, keep abusing us.
Wow. This is sort of something I've thought about a little bit, is that really the ones that are really oppressing are the biggest cowards. They really are.
Oh, yes.
And the ones that really don't want to be oppressed, they have a lot of courage, and really you don't need a ton of firepower necessarily, and this is proof of it, to overcome them, because they will just start running. They won't know what to do, because they're truly cowards. They only really can do what they do if you just bow down. The minute you stop bowing down, all of a sudden the power level changes dramatically.
Yeah, the balance shifts.
Like if in the US, for example, if some guy, I've seen this so many times, it makes me sick. A guy be walking with his girlfriend, she might be a little drunk or something, and a cop will like be all over, and then the cop will start hitting her. The guy won't hit the cop or stop the cop. And he'll actually go, sir, please, sir, stop. Like, that's the mentality. With that mentality, you will never overcome your oppressors. I'll tell you one thing, if a cop, I have an example actually. This was in Mexico. I was in Cancun recently for my daughter's birthday, and on the way to the airport, we got stopped by a government checkpoint. My wife immediately was very angry. I was also like, what is this? They said, we want to see all your passports. And my wife went off on them, and I just sat there. And one of the government guys tried to get onto our van. I was out of my head at that moment. Like, I was not thinking, and I just stood right up. I said, what do you think you're doing? And he just looked at me. I said, this is our private property. And he just started backing off, right? So just that, like, they've got guns and stuff. I didn't have any guns. It's that if we were like, oh, thank you, yes, please check our passports, then they continue. If everyone was sort of like us, where we were like, get out of here, and like, what are you doing? And very quickly they just sort of back off,
it's
right?
because in the very end they're also human beings, you know.
They are.
If they see
Sort
someone
of.
who's
They've got a slim little bit of
they're very close to being robots.
Yeah, very close, but they are actually still human beings.
Yeah, but I mean, like, you gotta get to that part of them, you know, and if you stand up to them, I mean, like, they're gonna react. I mean, they're gonna feel threatened, and they're not used to that.
Yeah.
And I think that's the reason why the reason for their reaction, for someone who stands up to them.
Yeah, they're just, they're not used to it, and they're kind of scared by it. And another example is that, like, if a cop comes into your area in the US, and if your neighbors all agree with you, which is probably not the case, that's the problem. They probably all love the cops because they watch television programming all day, and it's all cops are good, cops are good. They get that their whole lives. But if everyone in your neighborhood really doesn't like cops, when the cop comes into the neighborhood, everyone should just go out and go, get the hell out of here. And they probably will. I've seen this happen a number of times. Like, the resistance to authority is very easily broken just by people saying no. It doesn't have to be violent at all. It's just like, get out of here. What are you doing here? And they'll just surround the guy. I've seen this many times. And in the U.S., some people have surrounded the cops, so they're all pretty drunk or whatever, and the cops just start running. Where did I see where that was in Catalonia. The cops, everyone was so angry about the government and the cops, and they started chasing the cops. There was like hundreds of cops in riot gear, all just running from these people without weapons or anything. So it kind of goes to show, like, you don't really need it's not the violent part that's the most important part. It's just not submitting to their authority.
Yeah, man. And I mean, like, you don't have to be very smart to realize that if someone is standing up to your oppression, it's because you're doing something wrong to them, you know? It's a no-brainer, you know? I mean, like, he's gonna stand up because I'm attacking them, and that's not good, so I should stop.
Yeah, it kind of wakes them up from what they're doing. It's sort of like a programming. They're like, oh, I was told that I'm supposed to do this. This is my job, and that these people want this or something, right? And if the people just go, I don't want this enough, they might start to wake up from it, right?
I don't want to imagine how a cop gets programmed, you know?
Well, they're programmed from day one in the U.S. in places like that with the television programming, the schools. When in school do they ever say cops are bad? No, call the guy. They have courses and stuff where they're like, well, if you have a problem, you call the police, and they're here to protect you. All that stuff, right? So they're very indoctrinated in the U.S. The U.S. is pretty much really like a lost cause, in my opinion. Like, that's why I spent a lot of time in Mexico, because I know my neighbors here. Like, no one would ever allow cops in here. And in fact, that's a very normal thing in Mexico. Most neighborhoods won't allow the cops to come into their neighborhoods. They just say, no, you're not allowed in here. And the cops usually back right off. So I much prefer to be around these kind of people. So let's get to Cheran again. Mm-hmm. We went there, and incredibly nice town. It was amazing. So peaceful, so friendly.
Definitely, man. I mean, like, you can feel it once you're in there, you know?
Yeah.
You can feel like the calm in the environment. And people are very nice, you know, they're greeting you. Sometimes they forget because they're not used to like outsiders, you know, and they're like, what's this guy? You know, they just look at you confused.
Sometimes they smile and wave, but they're a little confused, like, oh.
Yeah. But if you go talk to them, they're like, oh yeah, what do you need? You know, what can I do for you? Yeah, very nice people.
Yeah, absolutely. And you just recently returned, so maybe you could just tell us a little bit about the most recent trip and what happened.
Oh yeah, well, I went with Jacob Soller and Chris Harrigan, you know.
Chris Harrigan was on Anarchast a few episodes ago, the guy making a documentary.
Oh yeah, I saw that one.
Yeah.
Well, at the beginning I was supposed to be just the translator, you know, the guy who connected the people and everything. But somehow I ended up being a part of Chris's film. And so what we did was introducing them to cryptocurrencies. And actually it's very funny, you know, because things were happening just spontaneously, you know. There was nothing planned, and we wanted to introduce these guys to crypto and blockchain. And when we arrived there, we didn't know anyone. The guy we met the other day, he was not in town, he left. So I just asked this lady, hey, do you know someone from the council? And she was like, oh yeah, he's there in his house, you can get inside if you want. And I'm like, really? That's okay? Yeah, go ahead, go. And we were like, oh shit, okay, let's go.
Yeah, that's how the whole town is. Both Luke Rudowski and my wife needed to use the washroom at one point on the trip, and both times, as just some locals, they asked where the toilet was, and they said, oh, just use my house.
Yeah, super
That's how the whole
people.
town is.
Yeah, man.
So you just walk into like one of the sort of elders' houses, just
we were
unannounced,
walking down
just
there.
walk right into his house.
They were greeting us, hey, hello, who are you? Where are you from? But very nicely, you know, and I'm Roy, he's Jacob, he's Chris, you know, we're filming something and we want to talk to you guys about something. And they were like, oh, cool, have a drink, you know, you want to eat? Oh, meet my cousin. And I was like, hey, what's up?
It's amazing there. Yeah, it's just, the people are amazing, they're unbelievable.
Oh, yeah.
So some of the critiques I've heard is one person commented on YouTube, so who knows, a lot of people just type stupid stuff, but he said, you can't own private property there, so therefore it's not truly anarchist. And I didn't know about that, but you say that's not the case.
Oh, not at all, man, not at all. I mean, like, I heard someone was saying that, and I actually asked a guy from the mayor council, actually, and he told us, like, no, everyone can have like their house and their business, you know, and there's a lot of people inside of Cheran who is looking for investors.
Really?
They really want to make business, man.
Oh, well, perfect.
Yeah.
What do they think about a lot of anarchists from the rest of the world moving there? Because I've already seen a lot of people interested.
Oh yeah, I heard of that. Well, I mean, like it's very nice.
Like
the
maybe
weather's
they
nice.
invest, like maybe build like some nice condos or houses or something. Would that be like something that would be kind of accepted as good by the community?
Yeah, well, it's a small community, you know, and they have their own ways in which everyone agreed, you know.
It's sort of
acting
like
upon.
everyone needs to agree before you do something.
Yes, yeah. If you.
So if we wanted to do something like that and build something there, we'd probably have to go and talk to the town, like maybe a little town meeting sort of a thing, and see if anyone has a problem.
Yeah, but I mean, like they won't care as long as you're not someone who wants to, like, you know, log the trees or someone from a political party or government. They just kick them out, you know. But if you're just someone who wants to live there and wants to work there, I'm pretty sure you can have a chance to live there for sure.
Do you know if there's any places like rental places like that you can rent a little place there? Because I know a lot of people. I've already seen a lot of people saying they're going to go and check it out on their own. So just some information for them, like because Luke Radowski and we both said, "Man, we should just move here." I was kind of joking. Luke was kind of serious because it's only about 2 hours from Mexico City. It's a beautiful area. Like, I don't know if we can get some documentary footage up of the area. We'll probably get some of that, and it's beautiful. Like, it doesn't have the ocean, but it's mountains and lakes.
Oh man, yeah. The mountains, the trees, everything, and there are valleys. You know, it looks great. You can feel the very clean air in there.
Oh yeah, that too. Very, yeah. It feels so peaceful and
very, very peaceful, you know. And also, you know, the food's amazing.
Yeah, my
It's very
wife,
good.
of course, she's Mexican. She loves tacos. I love tacos as well. They have a certain kind there. I forget what they were called. It's like carnitas. Carnitas.
Yeah.
I was feeling a little sick the day we went, actually, so I didn't eat too much, but she was telling me it was amazing. And it cost, oh, by the way, I think we bought for almost everyone, and there was about 8 or 9 of us, I think. Everyone ate 1 or 2 big carnita tacos, and we had 2 big bottles of Coke, and I think it was $10. Like, that's like how cheap it was. It was unbelievable.
It was super cheap. Man, we stayed there for a week in the hotel. We hosted a dinner, you know, for the council in there. And so 3 rooms, that dinner, and many other expenses for a week, less than $400. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, it's and the people are pretty kind of like anarcho-capitalists too, because Chris Harrigan wanted to interview a woman, and it was this little old lady, and he just wanted to get her. He didn't want to interview her; he just wanted to have her on his documentary because she was so sweet. She was like, and like the dogs would come up, she like tried to hit him with her stick, and but she was really old, and Chris got someone to ask her. It was actually my driver who translated. He said, "Do you mind if we film you?" And she says, "If you buy me a Coke, okay."
Oh yeah, man.
And the Coke costs about 20 cents. So.
Yeah, they want fair trade. There was another lady, you know, we were like, "Hey, can we interview you? What am I getting out of this?"
Yeah, it's great. Totally my kind of people. So, you know, maybe I should move into that area. Like really, like I should consider. We've actually been thinking about it because we want to have a sort of like a vacation home outside of Acapulco. It's funny living in Acapulco. This is where everyone comes to vacation, but we're here all year. We're thinking something up north near Mexico City, outside of Mexico City, obviously. There's so many beautiful areas around there.
Yeah.
There's the whole tequila growing region, which is almost like going to the wineries in France.
Oh yes, Jalisco.
Yeah, Jalisco. Even this area, Michoacan, is beautiful. I think we're looking at Querétaro at the moment. Mm-hmm. But maybe I should consider just actually moving there. These people are just so cool.
Oh yeah, man. And I mean, like, if you go
Imagine
there...
Anarchast from Cheran. That'd be pretty cool, actually. Maybe I'll do it. It's close enough to Mexico City. Maybe I'll get a little place there. So there you go. I might be moving to Cheran.
Nice.
So yeah, continue on if you got anything else you want to say on it.
Anything else?
How about the crypto stuff? Did you talk to them about cryptos?
Yeah, they loved it. And there's actually something we are doing. We're setting up a wallet for the community.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, so we're going to put it over there, you know, for people to make donations.
Yeah, we'll put the link to that down below. So we did meet, I met with one of the town elders, and he was mentioning that he doesn't have enough money to have enough chairs in his office to host a large group like we had. And he mentioned to someone that they do accept donations. And I was like, yeah, man, I want to donate to this. Like, you guys, like, you're heroes, like, you know, like, it's just like, I feel like I want to give them something, definitely. And so we'll definitely make sure we put that link down below. And you'll see on there, what is it, Dash, or is it EOS, or Bitcoin, or?
There are going to be several cryptos.
Okay. Mm-hmm. On one of the wallets, if you check, you'll see a fairly large donation from me. As soon as I get the address, I'm going to put, you know, not talking hundreds of thousands of dollars, but you see something where you can buy some nice chairs and stuff, because I want to support them.
Yeah, man, and something I was telling them, well, actually, we want to support your cause, because this is something that needs to happen all over the world, and you were the ones who started it all. So we gotta help you, because if you keep doing things your way, you're gonna motivate people to do the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe teach them a little bit, if they want, about more capitalism, because a lot of people don't seem to be making a lot of money there. Maybe there's an angle there. I was thinking of giving them the books, Economics in One Lesson is a good one, but there was one book I was thinking about, just how to do business sort of a thing. Just maybe they might be interested in that. They seem like they're just pretty happy. They don't seem like they care. The way the people seem is, I got my nice little life, I can afford carnitas, and we live free here. They're not thinking, I got to build my business and corporate franchises all over the town or anything. They're just not thinking that way, which is fine. It's totally fine.
Yeah. There are lots of. I don't know if most of them, but there are lots of people in there who are just okay with the peace they have at the moment. And you don't know the price of peace.
Oh yeah, totally. No, I get it. I was just thinking, if they do want help on building capital in that area and becoming wealthier, that's something that we can definitely help with. Right?
Oh yeah. There's people who's actually interested in doing business in there, and it's because there are several other towns surrounding the area that also kicked out the police. But man, they're doing good, man. They're doing a lot of business with avocado, heavy machinery, a lot of things, man.
Okay. So
there are people who started humbly, but then you see them just walking on the street, with dirty clothes and everything, but they have a pouch filled with 500 pesos bills, Yeah. They do like to do business.
Oh, that's great. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to head back there at some point, and maybe even consider getting a little place somewhere in that area, because like I said, we have been thinking about getting another place. So that'd be pretty cool. Part-time from Acapulco, Mexico, part-time from Cheran. That sounds pretty good. Is there anything else you want to let people? There's one thing we should let people know, and that is we have an Anarchast Espanol, an Anarchast Spanish channel. It used to be run by Luis Fernando Misas, but he really hasn't done much in a long time. I think he just interviewed you, though, right?
Yeah, he interviewed me, and this kind of matters need to be discussed, in the Spanish-speaking countries. It's necessary.
Absolutely. That was the intention of Anarchast Espanol, but Luis got too busy, runs his own business, doing, I forget what he calls it, corporate servant leadership. He teaches companies how to not rule sort of as a ruler, but the leader is actually a leader and all that kind of stuff. And he has a business doing that. He also does Emancipated Human. He also sells Kratom. And if you want Kratom, by the way, check him out. Luis Fernando Misas on Facebook. He sells that. It's a great plant that helps with pain and all that kind of stuff. And he does a number of other things as well. So I think he kind of just didn't do much with Anarchast Espanol. So you brought it up and said, why don't I help with it? So you've been talking to Luis, and he interviewed you now, and you might become a co-host on Anarchast Espanol. So if anyone out there speaks Spanish or has Spanish-speaking friends, definitely make sure to subscribe to Anarchast Espanol. There's going to be more things coming out, and actually the biggest is going to be either you, Rafael Laverde, who works with me at Dollar Vigilante, or Luis is going to probably interview Nelson Chartrand, who's from Cuba, and I was one of the people who helped him escape from Cuba. He's now, I believe, I think he's in Argentina. No, he's in Brazil at the moment, and it was very hard to get him out. It's a complete prison, Cuba, and so that'll be an amazing interview on Anarchast Espanol. And maybe we'll put it up with subtitles on this channel just so you can check it out. I didn't want to interview him again because my Spanish is okay, especially in person. It's okay, but over Skype or stuff, I can't hear it too well, and so I wanted someone who speaks Spanish to interview him about it. So it'll be either you or Luis or Rafael. We'll do that soon. So check it out on Anarchast Espanol. Anything else you want to let people know? How they can contact you? You have a blog or Facebook? FBI book?
In the meantime, you can contact me on Instagram at Royznuf, ROYZNUF. That's the first thing, then I will set up something else with time. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, a lot of people, younger people now, they're just on Instagram. I've noticed that.
Oh yeah, well, it's a good platform in which you can spread a lot of messages. It's mainly for advertising and everything, and you can use it for a good purpose, actually.
Yeah, but I met some young people. I'm like, how do I contact you on Facebook? They're like, no, I don't have that. I'm like,
oh yeah.
And I'm like, well, how? And they're like, Instagram. Like that's how a lot of younger people just communicate now. So like you. So check out your Instagram. Is there anything else you want to let people know out there?
The message the people of Cheran wanted to share with the world, because every time
you have the hat too, by the way.
Oh
You should
yeah,
hold that up.
yeah.
You should mention that as well.
Well, there was a guy in Cheran that he has some, like, you know, spray painting artwork. He does that, and he does that as well with hats. This is one of them. It says "We are changed, Cheran, Michoacán." It's for Luke Rudowski, actually.
What, no dollar vigilante hat?
He can make personalized hats. Whatever you want, he'll make a cool design.
Cool, I'll buy one from him. Yeah, that looks really cool, actually.
It's very nice.
Yeah.
And the message from Cheran, because when we were finishing the interviews, we always asked them, like, is there a message you want to give to the world or something? And they were always, this was impressive, man, because they were all saying the same thing, you know? And that message was, don't be afraid to take the boot out of your neck.
Wow.
Yes. Yes, so it's something to take into consideration.
From them. That is, there you go. Don't be afraid to take the boot off your neck. We talked about it earlier, but you don't have to go and gun down cops. That's not going to solve anything, really. But stand up to them and don't be submissive. And spread this information. Spread this video. Share it with people. Let people know that this is what it's all about, not this whole government thing. This whole government thing is going to destroy the whole world. And it's as simple as just don't be afraid. And that's another thing. No fear. That's a big thing. And they obviously don't seem to have any, which is great. And that's really the case. So if you have fear, get into meditation, figure out how to take deep breath. Everything's going to be okay, and take that boot off your neck. So I think that's a great way to finish it. So thank you very much to Roy Duarte, and like I said, like, subscribe, share these videos. Let's get this information out there. And for all the anarchists out there, let's fully support Cheran any way we can. And that includes donations if you can. That includes visiting and buying some products off them, making friends, showing your support in person. They're very friendly there, and it's one of the nicest places I've ever been. It's a few hours outside of Mexico City, so very easy to get to. So that's it for Anarchast, your home for anarchy on the internet. Peace, love, and anarchy.
Yeah.